let's get used to processing how we feel about certain things, because memories are not just stored in your past. Memories are also stored in your future. You have feelings attached to things that have not happened yet. Why? Because the timelines are all on the same thing. From a conscious perspective, we split it up past, present, future. From the subconscious, I'll use it all as the same thing.
What if you could build a business in the modern world as big or as small as you want without having to compromise the things that were the most important to you in the very beginning? This is the Wealthy Consultant Talks podcast with Taylor Welch and Mike Walker, as they share with you today their learning lessons from stories in their experiences over the past 10 to 15 years and share with you right here, right now. Let's get into it.
What is going on, my friends? Mike Walker here. Welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Consultant Podcast. I've got a fantastic clip to share with you today from another one of our Monday Mindset calls. I like doing this because there is so much value packed within these client-only calls that we do. And I'm all about, kind of pulling back the curtain, giving you guys a little taste of what's going on over there. If you ever want to know more about how to get into those Monday Mindset calls, I'll make sure there's a link around this video. It's our Consulting Digest subscription. It's a digital and a physical publication that Taylor and I write every single month that shows up in your mailbox. But it also includes our online community specifically just for subscribers. And we're always digging into some really cool stuff there. There's a community, a forum that people jam back and forth on, but we're also doing these Monday Mindset calls. It is a fantastic way to prime your week because it sets the stage for what comes afterwards, right? So what better way to get your day set off right than getting your Monday morning kicked off right? And that's exactly what we do every single week here at The Wealthy Consultant. You can learn more about that, again, below the video or wherever you'll find this information. Just look us up, you'll find us, and it would be great to have you part of that community. But let's dig in, because here's the thing, man. I wanted to share with you guys a thought that I had the other day, which is exactly why I extracted this clip from the archives, and that is the topic of fear. It is part of the human's experience, am I right? Like, we all subscribe to this thing called life. Well, part of that subscription of life is the facing of fear. It is an emotion that we're all going to face. We've faced it before. We'll face it again. That is a definite absolute, correct? Now, take that one step further. When you're in business and you're scared, why is that even more compounding of an emotion? Well, because you typically have a lot of different variables. You have money involved, which is another form of emotion, technically. It's an energy field, right? And then you have the compounding equation of other people involved, whether they be your clients, your teammates, or both. The reality is that there's a lot of fear that can enter into the entrepreneurial experience. And so if that is true, if we know that dealing with fear is going to be something that we're going to deal with, whether we like it or not, would it not make sense that we really get good about how we use that fear, right? So are we going to play the victim and this is something that's happening to me? Or am I going to play the conqueror, the captain of my ship, the captain of my soul routine, and actually make this work for us, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that we just try to paint everything rosy and, oh, I'm not scared, it's all good, and I just kind of pretend it's, not something bad or fearful. But the reality is, just because it's not an experience that we want doesn't mean that we can't use it to our benefit. And so my prompt to you today in listening to this clip is really pay attention to the framing and the understanding of the timelines within fear and how we respond, because it is our response between the triggering event that generates fear in us and our rationale and understanding, and then of course the actions that we take after that fear is confronted, right? Like, as soon as we face that fear, as soon as we are touched by that fear emotion, what happens next? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, is how do you handle fear, and more importantly, how do you use it for your own benefit in your life and business? I know this will be helpful. Share this one with a friend. I think you'll find that this is we're all human, and that means we're all going to face fear. We might as well get really, really good at handling it. Am I right? Awesome, guys. Dive in with me. This is a good one. Enjoy.
We're going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to take you guys into an experience that I had that I believe will be so helpful for you from 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, my wife and I, we went to North Shore, which is the top end of Lake Superior. You go up into, we flew into Minneapolis, we rented a car, and we drove 5 hours along the top of Lake Superior. We're like 25 minutes away from Canada. So put it in perspective for you guys. I woke up Wednesday morning on North Shore. It was 87 degrees in Nashville, and it was 48 where we were. So we're like Canadians. We're like freezing.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've now transitioned up into the north.
I'm wearing a hoodie and a jacket just to go outside. I'm freezing. And here's the thing. There's like no civilization up there. The grocery stores are gas stations.
I was going to say convenience stores, I'm sure. Yeah.
Convenience stores. And so, believe it or not, in 2015, my wife and I, we went to the North Shore to visit her family because they lived in St. Paul, Minneapolis. We met them up there. And we got on a plane at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's 2015. I had been in business for maybe 7 or 8 months. This was June, I believe, of 2015. We landed, and I tell this story often, but I was going through this, like, I didn't have enough time to talk to people. I didn't have enough time to get to service clients. My work was sort of doing work for me. People were referring people, and I was a copywriter. And so before I left, I had a conversation with a young lady. She said, I want to hire you for something. And I said, in my head, I'm like, I don't have time to do this work because I've got 2 clients ahead of you. I'm 2 months out. And so I said, I'm just going to charge her. I'm going to use my secret, which is the secret that I use when I don't want to take a client. I'm just going to price it so high that she's going to say no. I think it was $20,000. The client before this person, I didn't have time for them either. The most I'd ever charged was $2,500. I charged him $10,000 and he paid it. And I was like freaking out. I was like, I already don't have time for this. And so with this one, I said, it's $20,000 and I can't start for 2 months. She's like, okay, where do I send the money? I was like, you got to be kidding me.
My plan isn't working.
It's not working. I was green, had no idea how to build waiting lists, businesses, didn't know anything about this. And so I sent her the stuff and I sent her a contract and like a wire transfer sheet. This was the first wire, believe it or not, that I had ever received in business. I was using PayPal. And so we landed, my cell service came back on. We're in Minneapolis. My notification comes in from Bank of America at the time, this is the bank we used, $20,000. And the most money we were used to having in our account was like a couple hundred. The money would come out, it would go straight out. Money would come in, it would go straight out. And so we landed, and I'm like sort of in shock. Have you ever been in that place where it's like you have a really big month or a big week and you're like, oh, yo, this is the most money I've ever had in my life.
Time to go to Vegas, let's roll.
I was still working I was working part-time because I had worked a full-time day job and I had transitioned to contract. And so we get off, we go get our car, and I was like, yo, babe, look at this. Showed her the bank account. Took a screenshot of it. I was like, I've got to remember this moment. The moment I became rich.
Yep.
Gotta never forget this. And so I'm just on like cloud 9 and we're having the best time. We're driving to the North Shore, listening to worship music, blaring it out. I'm like, thank you so much, God. You've made me rich. Finally, I'm not poor anymore. And we're talking $20,000. It's not like, this is like, now it's kind of hilarious, but back then this was 75% of the money I was used to making in a year, in one transaction. And so we get to the North Shore and we check into this cabin. I'm going to tell you about this, but I'm going to tell you it in reverse. I'm going to transition gears and push pause on this story and tell you a new story. Just stick with me for a second. I got the download for Traffic and Funnels, which was my first consultancy, at the North Shore in 2015. I was up in a cabin where we had to walk out of the cabin and go up a flight of stairs, walk around a patch of trees and get to like the main cabin. That's the only way we had cell service or Wi-Fi. We were out in the middle of nowhere. And I was up there and I had an old business partner. His name was Chris. And we weren't business partners at the time. We were messaging back and forth on an antiquated messaging platform called Skype.
Wow. That's good perspective, yeah.
So we're on Skype, and I'm like, dude, I just got some ideas. I think we can make $100,000 a month with this. He's like, no way. It's like, yes, I think we can do it. $100,000 a month, which is nobody in my family has ever made half of that ever. And so I get the download. And so this trip was a revisiting of an old trip for me. And this is why I wanted to go. You know, in 2022, I walked away from a portfolio of businesses. It was very, very hard for me to do. And I wanted to go to the North Shore in 2022. If you're like religious or you study the Bible, the year 7 years, the number 7 is pretty important. And so 2015, 2022, that's 7 years. Like, I think we need to go to the North Shore, but we couldn't do it. There was too much going on, and it was like daily catastrophes happening. And so this year is the first summer that we really have where there's some autonomy and some freedom. And so my wife and I talked, we're going to go back to the North Shore, and I'm going to get a new vision, right? A new blueprint for the next 7 years. So we land in Minneapolis. This is the most current time. This is 2 weeks ago. We get into a rented car. We start driving. We get to the cabin, and it's a beautiful cabin, but it is not on the lake, which is basically what Airbnb said, is on the lake, and we're not on the lake. In fact, you can't even get to the lake because you have to cross a road. You get to the lake, and it's a cliff. Like Lake Superior is not like a normal lake. It's like an ocean. So it's a cliff. You can't even get down there. So I'm thinking, this is my plan. I'm going to cold plunge every morning. We're going to make fires on the lake. It's going to be amazing. We're not even on the lake. We're like across the highway like peasants.
Like peasants.
So I'm like not happy. Very unhappy. We get into the cabin. Lindsay's like, oh, this is awesome. I'm like, this is not awesome.
It is awful.
We're in the middle of nowhere. If you're in North Shore and you don't have the lake, you have nothing.
Yeah. Maybe some trees.
You have mosquitoes.
Oh.
That's all we have. Mosquitoes and like a little dinky grill. And what's funny is this, like, the cabin was like a significant upgrade to the old cabin, but I didn't see that. All I saw was this is not meeting my expectations. So Lindsay's inside. She's like undoing groceries and stuff. I said, I just need a minute. So I'm gonna need some alone time. I'm relatively high maintenance as a human. So I need some processing time. I've learned to do this because if I don't get my processing time, I end up processing on the people around me. And so then Lindsay gets the brunt of it. So I'm like, I'm going to go outside. She's like, yeah, get away from here. Like,
yeah, you do that.
Lindsay's like protecting her own energy. She's like, go outside and sit there. So I go outside. I open up my iPad and I start journaling in day one. Like, this is stupid. Hate this cabin.
Grumpy typing.
And Holy Spirit speaks to me. And he says, wow, not much has changed. Mm-hmm. And I go, false. That's not how it was last time. And he said, I remember. This is exactly how you were last time. The cabin's too small. There's no internet in the cabin. There's no civilization. It's too cold. It's too hot. Let's get back to Nashville, blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's not true. He says, go back and read your journals. Well, I go back. I read the journals. It's the same Taylor Welch. The cabin is disgusting. There's only 2 rooms. We don't have a bathroom. We have to share a bathroom with the other people. Just complaining. And I said, okay, you're right. And there's like flocks of mosquitoes like flying around, and I'm in purgatory.
Mosquitoes.
Not happy. And Holy Spirit says this. He says, when are you going to learn that you don't need to go back to relive an old moment? Just like the past, your best memories are in your future, not behind you. Boom, massive download. So I go, okay, I believe you. Fine. And I wrote the little lesson down for myself so that I didn't forget it. I go back inside. I'm a little bit more cheerful. I'm like, we'll stay in the North Shore, because I was trying to convince Lindsay to fly back the next day. I don't want to be stuck in the middle of nowhere with no lake. So I open up my laptop and I start looking for other Airbnbs that are like on the lake as advertised.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just move and I'll just pay for another Airbnb. I don't really care. Holy Spirit speaks to me again. He says, classic Taylor Welch.
Oh man, he's got your number, bro.
I said, what does that mean? And he said, everywhere you are, you're wishing you were somewhere else. I said, that's not fair, and you know it. That is not fair, and you know it. I want to be on the lake. Fine. What's the solution? We'll stay here. You obviously have some things to tell me. The Holy Spirit says this. What if you wished that you were exactly where you are? And he just said, practice. I said, okay, fine. You shut the laptop. I'm done with this conversation. I'm done talking to the Holy Spirit about this because it keeps coming back to the same thing, which is me as a guest. I'm the problem. And I start trying to turn it around. And hopefully this story is, there's already insights that are creeping up in the story that are probably applicable for your life. And the day goes by, the next day goes by, but the next day is actually really hot. This is on a Tuesday. It's hot, unseasonably hot, 76 degrees in North Shore. But there's no AC in the houses in North Shore. So inside the house, it's like 84 degrees. There's no AC. So I'm in the shower that night, and I'm once again back to my old ways. I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is an awful vacation. This is a 2 out of 10 vacation. What do you want me to do about it? Because now I'm like, I'm just going to pray about it, because if not, I'm going to be interrupted, and it's going to be aggressive. So I'll just pray about it. And the Holy Spirit gives me a picture, and I'm going to show you the picture he gave me, because I immediately went out of the shower, dried off first, obviously, wrote it out. And he gave me this picture of why I have wrestled with fear for the last 2 years. And if you followed me for any amount of time, you know that fear is a unique thing for the life of an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to get attacked by this anxiety, fear, worry. And so I got to download like a full picture, and it was in the shower, and I just raced out so I didn't forget it. And we'll spend the rest of the time today me like walking you through this picture, this model, this blueprint for how fear can show up in your life, and you don't even realize it. It's subconscious. It's buried inside of your psychology, and it will change if you're not careful with it. It will change how you view the future. So you ready? You want to pull it up?
Let's do this.
I'll pull it up and I'll take you through it. How are we doing so far? We good? We having fun at my?
What you guys feeling?
We having fun at my expense yet?
We always do, man.
I know. Oh, don't I know it?
Yep. Oh boy, Miro action. Here we go.
Okay, so I got this picture in my head, and the way that sometimes God will speak to me is he'll sometimes speak to me through just like telling me I'm an idiot. Sometimes it's very direct. Sometimes though, I'll get these pictures. And if you've seen any of my shows on YouTube, I talk about this a lot on YouTube. They're long, 1.5 hour episodes. And I asked for, in April, I started asking God to give me visions. I was like, give me some visions. Everyone else gets visions. Lindsay gets dreams. I got nothing. Give me some visions. And so, like, if you pray for something, you're going to get it. He's usually going to show up. You just got to be watching for it. If you pray for it and aren't watching for it, you're not going to see it. And so God started giving me visions. And the way these visions work are like, I'll get a picture and I'll instantly know what everything on the screen means. Like, I know all of the details, all of the context. Has anybody seen The Matrix?
Yes.
You know, when Trinity is like going outside on the top of the building, and she's like, I need to know how to fly this helicopter. And he's like, hold on, like downloads, I don't know, 8 years of training into her brain.
So cool.
It's like that. It's like instant data dumps. And this is what I saw. There is a cluster of experiences. These dots represent moments in my memory. And so you've got, you know, the business started, and then you've got like Kate is born, and then you have like some random thing here, and then you have like 2022, which is like giving away the businesses, FTC, nonstop sheer terror moments. And what happened is the way that I perceived future opportunities changed in 2022. What used to be from a metacognition standpoint, what used to be a opportunity. So you think about like, where are you going to be at the end of 2024? Think about Christmas for a second. And let's do this exercise. Just play the game. Think about where you're going to be in 2024, end of year. It's Christmas Eve. Where do you wake up and how do you feel? Is it exciting? Is it fun? Everybody loves Christmas. Just think about the energy you have when you think about Christmas Eve, end of the year 2024. And if you feel comfortable, you can type it in the chat. Just like, let's get used to processing how we feel about certain things, because memories are not just stored in your past. Memories are also stored in your future. You have feelings attached to things that have not happened yet. Why? Because the timelines are all on the same thing. From a conscious perspective, we split it up past, present, future. From the subconscious, I'll use it all as the same thing. Okay, so Angela says, love Christmas, happy. Okay, Mike, how do you feel? Christmas Eve, what's the connotation attached to the end of the year?
Grateful.
Grateful. Leah, what you got?
Excited, man.
Excited. Good shit. Right around the corner. Safe, proud, present, calm, grateful. Okay, so this is what happens is, and when the Holy Spirit showed me this picture, I realized what had happened. The future moments in my life, they used to represent hope and excitement and opportunity. And you don't know what could happen. And when anything's on the table, that means everything's on the table. And so that's awesome. Giddy up. Let's go. There is no cap. There's no ceiling. Everything in the past used to feel like I was being pulled to the future. But something happens. And when that happened, my psychology changed right here. And these dots and these moments in the future began to represent risk, unmitigated risk. If anything could happen, that means the worst could happen. And so I stopped seeing opportunity and I started seeing risk. Anything past 30, 60 days is something I can't see. You know, like I didn't see the FTC. I didn't see walking away from the business. I didn't see any of this stuff. It almost felt like it snuck up on me. And so my psychology, and I've been battling this, trying to get vision. God, give me vision. I want vision for my life. I want a blueprint for, give me what it looks like. And the problem is that vision was being blocked because I viewed the future as a scary place, not an exciting place. And so all of these dots, notice the only zone of safety on this graph is the present. It's the only zone of safety. If you get past 30 days, there could be something bad happen. This is a bad red dot. I can't get past 30 days because I don't want to go past 30 days, because if I go past 30 days, something could sneak up on me and hurt me. Make sense?
Tracking.
And so what I had to do, and what I was guided through doing, is going back and realizing that each of these moments represented an upgrade for me. When Kate was born, it was an upgrade. When I started the business, it was an upgrade. When the FTC happened, it was an upgrade. And sometimes these upgrades, they were painful in the moment. But what they gave me is they gave me the ability to see further and to have a better handle on where I'm going. And so through the process of this trip to North Shore, I was able to go back and reframe and redefine the negativity in my life. And this doesn't have to be crazy. I mean, you can have a business deal go south. Somebody that you really love could die. A friend that you thought was always going to be a friend is no longer a friend. A client that you've been working on for years and years and years bought and then refunded. Whatever it is, we have to protect our view of the future. If it ever becomes tainted out of fear, what this means is that if there's fear present, you can't see past it. We lack the ability to see through fear. And so the way that we deal with fear is actually redeeming the past and reclarifying the past and redefining the past. And so the future is an opportunity, not a risk. When you feel the future is full of opportunity, you'll be pulled towards it. You're not going to run out of energy. You're not going to burn out. You're not going to spin your wheels trying to mitigate random loosey-goosey downsides. what you're going to do if the future is filled with opportunity is you're going to be actually pushed into it, pulled into it with clean energy. So this was my week 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to share this with you. I'm going to be turning this into a genuine, I'm probably going to update belief architecture with some of this stuff, but that's my story. Where in your life are you allowing a fear that came from the past to actually pervert and taint the future? And it's important to find these areas, redefine and reframe them so you can get free from it. Any questions? It's 10:27 a.m.
Solid stuff. We got 3 minutes, guys. First come, first serve in the chat. I know there's a slight delay, so we'll give it a minute. Taylor, that was awesome, man. It speaks to so much about how we, it kind of changes our paradigms, right? We can either look at those past experiences and use it to taint our view of the future, or we can know that we survived it and only made it stronger because of it.
100%.